In this lesson, we'll finish the setup of our stretchy legs. Now we're just about ready to move to the left side. We just need to do one little thing to the right side of our leg, and that's involving our multiply divide. What's going to happen is if we were to save out this file and reopen it, we may get an error saying that there's an error within our expression, but everything seemed to be working fine, and it still will. The only thing is that because of the way we have set up our expression, the different attributes of the multiply divide would also need to be set up in a way where it wouldn't divide by 0. And here's what I'm talking about. I'll go to bring back the hypershade, go to our multiply divide node, double click it, and if you notice we have our input 1 y as well as z zeroed out. So even though they're not being read, in a way they are, to the point where we would get an error in our expression. So in order to avoid that error, all we need to do is simply put in a value of 1. Okay, so everything will run properly. So now if we were to save out our file, reopen it with these changes, everything will work fine. It's as simple as that. Now once this is done, we can go ahead and minimize our hypershade and get right back into working on finishing up our expression. So now we've got to apply it to the left, and we'll also work on setting up a switch to be able to turn on and off our stretch. Okay, so this is going to be, again, a pretty cool feature if you don't want it activated or not. We'll go back to our multiply divide, or excuse me, our distance tool. You could even template our character just so we can clearly see what's happening. Apply our distance locators, one to the thigh, one to the ankle. Once it's there, we'll hit enter to lock that in place. Select our locators, and again we chose a value of our scale of about 2.8 or 0.28, that is, not 2.8, just so that they won't be too large. We can give them names. We will call this one the DST or dist loc L thigh, so we know its association. Copy this name, paste it to the next, and this one's going to be the ankle, just as we've done before, pretty much doing the same steps. For our distance, we'll call that dist underscore L underscore leg 01. And we want to make sure that we're labeling them correctly so that when we get to the expression, all we need to do is switch the R to an L, okay, after we copy and paste everything. So we've got that set up, and our next step is to make sure we set up our proper constraint. So we'll select our thigh, select our locator, do a point constraint. So it'll stay, so our locators will stay with our control, and we'll do the same thing with the other locator. For the ankle, hit G to repeat the tool. Great, so now that that has been set up, our next step is to go to our hypershade so we can make another multiply divide node. So we can even have some space in here in our hypershade. Go to our node generator window and hit multiply divide. Okay. Now again, if that doesn't appear, if you get an error, you just need to reload your procedures. But with this now made, we can give it a name. We'll call this div underscore L underscore leg 01. So we know where it's going to. We'll double click it, and let's say we switch the multiply to divide. We need to do that for everything to work right. And since we're here, let's go ahead and just switch our inputs, okay, for X and Y to 1 and 1, just for the input 1. And then for our first input there, we're going to need to put in a value of 90, and the second input as well, a value of 90. Great, so once we have this set up, we're ready to go back to our expression editor. Let's go ahead and minimize our hypershade, go to our expression editor, and the first thing we want to go to, not our scale, but we want to go to our div scale limbs, just to make sure that these will be connected properly. So we'll copy this line, hit enter a few times, paste, and remember, all we should need to do is switch the R to an L. So now when we do that, we hit edit. Notice our connection has been made. Great. So our next task is going to be to make sure that we have everything connected for our legs in our expression. Now, let's say we first go ahead and make our on-off switch. Then from there, we'll copy all of our line, paste, and just switch our R to L as needed. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on that. We'll minimize our expression editor for now. We could even close out our node generator. Don't need that right now. Well, we'll select our foot controls, hit Control A to get to our channel box so we can see the attributes we're making, and we'll go to Modify, Add Attribute. Okay, so let's go ahead and we could use float for this. Doesn't matter because we're making a category name right now. We'll call the category stretchy leg. Alright, so once we have stretchy leg in place, we can make it displayable and hit add. We'll go to the next line underneath and we'll call this mode so we know what mode it's in. Is it stretchy or is it not? And for this we can use a boolean, okay, so we can turn it on and off. And we'll just hit OK. So now it's applied to both legs, as we can see. Great. So from here, we need to do some slight adjustments to our expression. We just need to add another line that tells us if this is off or if this is on, make it stretchy. If not, don't make it stretchy. It's really simple. So if we wanted to, we can add a comment. We can say turns expression, okay, or abbreviated expression, turns express on and off. Okay, then we can type in the line that's going to be if, and then open close parentheses, open close, or open bracket, open curly bracket that is. The next bracket goes right after our last curly bracket here, so it goes right underneath that. Okay, so we have if, and we have this, and what we can now do is put in another line or two, put in a comment and say stretch expression. Okay, now what we need in here for the if is the name of our control and the new attribute we have, so it's mode. So we'll copy and we'll paste, okay, and we'll say, so if our right foot dot mode, so we can have the variable in there or the attribute in there, if dot mode is equal to, not a regular equal sign, okay, or we won't get the right connection, so we want to put is equal to 1 since we have our stretch expression right underneath that. So if it's equal to 1, then run this stretch expression. Now what we need to do is add an else if statement. Else if it's going to be equal to 0, then just make sure that our scale is set to 1 so that there will be no stretching involved. So we'll put in our else if. Okay, we'll go ahead and type that in, else if, and we'll paste the name again. It's going to be dot mode is equal to, two equal signs, 0. Then we put in open curly bracket, a couple of lines down, close curly bracket, and all we need to do is copy this line here for the right and paste it in between these curly brackets, paste, and then hit tab. Okay, so it's going to run that. What I also like to do here, just to keep everything more organized, is to go ahead and hit tab just under the line. Okay, just shifting everything down one tab, excluding our on-off switch. Okay, just so everything else is easy to read. Okay, so everything for our on-off switch, we won't need to do that. Okay, so with this now done, we'll hit edit. Okay, notice everything's working right. And right now it's set to off, so watch what happens. If we, with our control selected, move it, no stretching out of our leg. But if we go ahead and turn it on, watch. Yes, now it's stretching the way we'd like it to. Great, so it's as simple as that. Let's say we go ahead and apply that to the left to finish off this process. Okay, so we'll go back to our expression editor and we'll want to copy everything. So hit Control A, copy, hit enter, a few lines down, hit paste, and carefully, making sure we just get to the R, we switch that to a L. So we'll go through, switch all of the R's that tell us that we're on the right side. Okay, not every R, of course. Don't want to do that. But we'll switch all of those R's to L's. That's another reason, again, why we wanted to make sure that everything is named properly, so we can easily go ahead and switch this around. Okay, so we don't want to miss out. You can't hide, can't hide. We got you. Okay, so after we've double checked everything, should just need to hit edit and notice everything's working fine. So we go to our left side and we test it out. Our mode is set to off. We move it around. It sure is off. Okay, but when our mode is set to on, notice our stretch is working. And let's say we go ahead and check out our scale after this. Okay, and before we do that, we do want to make sure that we have our locators as well as our distance tool in its proper place. So we'll go to our locators, control click our hidden transforms, hit P, and we'll go to our distance tool, go to extras, hit P. Now we can go to our scale, test that out. How do you look? Great, it's moving just fine. Wonderful. Great, and we can even test out our move tool if we like, moving that around. Excellent. Okay, well, now that all of these things have been done, that wraps up the setup of our legs. We've gone ahead and made an on and off switch, and we've also learned some things about the multiply divide node, and we're also going to be using it for our spine when it comes time to that, which we're about to do. So that finishes off this lesson, and in the next lesson we'll continue with our rig setup, moving on to another section now.